Hello, everybody. Welcome to Talk About House. I'm Todd.
I'm Juana.
Okay, today we are going to talk about new data that came out on new home sales in the U.S. have jumped to the fastest pace in 3 years.
Okay.
This is actually brand new data that came out. BBC did an article, or a bunch of people did an article. They gathered, and we're going to talk about everything in the article.
Okay.
But this is surprising news because for the last few months, we've been told about how there's that, remember that fake Redfin chart? Oh, there's 500,000 less people buying than selling and all this crazy stuff. And a lot of it was based on, they don't know how many people are going into new homes. So they made up some data, and this basically refutes all that. So obviously, if you have more homes for sale than buyers, home sales don't rise to their highest rate in 3 years, do they?
Right. The question is going to be, is this jump in new home sales a signal of things to come, or is this jump in new home sales noise?
Okay.
That's a big thing to talk about.
So we'll talk about that. Okay, so what we'll do, we'll go through some of the points in the article. We'll talk them out. First part of the article, new single-family home sales, so this is only new construction, rose 20.5% in August to an annualized rate of 800,000 units. That meant if you sold this many houses throughout a year, it would be 800,000. And it was reported by the Census Bureau.
Right. So, but the thing to point out here is that there's a difference between how homes are counted, right? When you sell on the resale market, that means that there's a homeowner, an individual homeowner selling to another person that's buying. Those home sales are counted when the home actually transfers ownership, right? Mm-hmm. But when we're talking about new home sales, they actually count when the home goes under contract, not when it closes. So,
right.
So it's a different metric, which is the reason I point this out is, first of all, to get context, and second of all, to make sure that when you're hearing something or reading something, you understand the context so you can make more informed conclusions.
It said that it was the fastest pace since early 2022 and well above economists' forecasts, signaling a burst of activity in a frozen housing market. One of the other things that people don't realize, if they say there's 900,000 new homes, that doesn't mean completed homes sitting there waiting for you just to show up and buy them.
Of course
it means
not, no.
Anything that there's been a permit pulled on, because that's all they know how to count are permits. So if I pull a permit for 40 vacant lots and say I'm going to build 40 houses on them, that counts as 40 homes for sale. Mm-hmm. And if I buy one, so it's not like there's 900,000 houses just sitting there that nobody's buying, or whatever the number of houses is.
Right.
Okay. All right. This is very interesting. As you know, if you watch the channel, that the Fed started this series of rate cuts. Mm-hmm. And we did a market update yesterday where we showed that the 30-year VA was down 5.25%. Mm-hmm. Right? Okay. And the FHA was as well, 5.25%. So it's dropped substantially just in the last month. Mm-hmm. Now remember, this is last month's data. This is August data, right? So in 3 weeks or a little more, we'll get this month's data. But here's the interesting thing. The average rate on the 30-year mortgage, which is the most popular home loan in the U.S., has fallen even further this month. So what they're saying is it dropped to 2.62% last week, according to Freddie Mac, an ongoing decline that could prompt even more home sales. What they're saying here, Juana, is that interest rates were even higher then. Mm-hmm. They're lower now. So what they're saying is if we sold this many houses at this interest rate, now that they're substantially lower, how much are we going to sell at this much lower interest rate?
Right. But remember, like I said, these new home sales are actually homes that went under contract, not necessarily homes that closed. And so the theory is that buyers were anticipating that interest rates would be much more favorable by the time their home is completed and they're ready to close on it. And that's when the interest rate actually kicks in for them. It doesn't kick in at contract time with a new home.
Yeah, that's another thing too. You're right about that, because when you go buy a house, if you have we've had friends that have bought new homes, and they'll sign the contract, and some of them will try to do a 6-month lock, and people were doing this in 2022 when rates were going up. They were paying the builder extra money to lock like really far out because they knew that rates would be much higher. And the builders would let them do it with some upfront money because they didn't want everyone to cancel. Mm-hmm. So they would just lock the loan at whatever rate they could get. And then, and you have to put money down because if interest rates drop, you'll just go find another lender. So they keep that money. It's like an option amount to do it. So I think people are anticipating that in the future, interest rates will be lower. Now, Rhonda, how does this bode for the resale market? Do people in the resale market wait until they actually, because the resale market, you can go under contract tomorrow. Mm-hmm. Like you can go out and look at a house tomorrow, go under contract same day, and the next day send all your stuff into the lender and lock the rate.
Right.
Do you think that this leads the residential market, or it lags it, or it's the same, or what?
What is this?
The new homes. People anticipating rates are going down, so they go, I'm going to buy that new house. I'll just lock it in 6 or 9 months right before I close, and I know it'll be less than it is today.
So I think that's an interesting question. I'm not sure how much that has to do with it. I think it more has to do with the inventory. And what I mean by that is the inventory is not sufficient to meet the needs and wants of the buyers. And buyers are saying, hey, look, there's nothing on the resale market that really gets me that excited, but I can go out and get a brand new home with that whole new home smell, get to pick all my own finishes, and it has more trendy floor plans and things that interest me more, rather than purchasing a resale home that I have to maybe compromise because it's an older home. Mm-hmm. Maybe it doesn't have the floor plan that's popular now. Maybe I have to change the finishes because I don't like them and that sort of thing. So that's part of it. The other part is kind of to your point, builders are giving incentives. They're giving incentives generally for things like upgrades and things like that. But again, you get to make the home your own, and you're able to either have the builder include that in the cost, or have the builder actually give you some sort of credit toward that, versus you purchasing a resale home and then either not being able to occupy it right away while the work is being done, or living in a construction zone if you're living in the home, and having come up with that cash out of pocket to make that home yours in the sense of having the finishes that appeal to you. So those are important things. And lastly, because builders are offering incentives versus sellers that maybe are still hanging on to the past as far as expecting to set record prices. And so maybe sellers in that particular area are not necessarily that amenable to negotiating a sale that is acceptable to a buyer. So buyers are going out to new homes and saying, hey, you guys have a nice product. I'm going to get to make the home my own, and this is a better situation for me.
Here's some more data from the article. New home sales jumped 20.5% in August. It's a huge jump. They sold a fifth more than previous month, and the highest in over 3 years. July sales pace was revised up. New housing inventory. So that chart you have probably seen online of like new housing inventory is the highest it's been since whenever, is actually at an 8-month low now. It literally went overnight to the highest it's ever been to, oh no, it's lower than all of the last 8 months. It's funny because I went on X because the Crash Bros hate this information. And they were all saying, oh, it's because they had to substantially discount the house to sell it. It's not real data. Median new house price increased 1.9% to $413,500. So you don't dump your prices and then sell them for more money.
Okay, so I want to touch on that for a moment.
Okay.
Have you ever gone to the store and it says 25% off? And you're looking at it going, okay, with the 25% off, it looks like the price that it used to be before. Okay, so there is a little bit of that. So you do have builders saying, oh, this is our price, but we're going to give you all these incentives, so it's actually going to bring the price down to this other number. So it is manipulating that a little bit. So I think that there is a substantial amount of that. So kind of you have to keep that in mind. The other reason why the inventory is going down for builders, kind of to your point, that inventory counts as far as building permits. Well, what's happening? Where are we in the year? We're in September. So we're heading into the winter, so you're going to have builders actually pulling less permits because you can't necessarily build new construction in all the parts of the country
Yeah.
at the way you can the rest of the year. So builders are pulling less permits because of the weather that they're anticipating. Winter's coming, right? For Game of
Wasn't
Thrones
that Game
fans.
of that was
Yes.
the Starks.
Yeah.
Winter is coming.
Winter is coming. So, you can't necessarily build new construction in Minnesota in December. Okay, I'm sorry, you can't. So you're probably not going to pull a building permit right now. Why would you want to spend the money on that? That doesn't make sense. So that all plays into it. So again, context is important.
We're going to keep doing these updates, especially with new homes, because they're the most misunderstood and how they work. And that fake Redfin chart has been getting so much traction in the last 3 months. Some blogger a Redfin blogger literally made up the chart. And I've seen it like on TV and it's all over social media. It's completely fake. But the Crash Bros have just latched onto it as the housing crash. And all of a sudden here we are, new home prices are really at record highs and inventory's dropping like crazy at a time of year when in the resale market, inventory's climbing. But now think about this, Wanda. We're a month or two away from inventory in the resale market where it starts its natural decline every year into the spring. And home prices basically haven't changed very much. In some markets, they are down. Like if your market went up 80% and it's down 10 or 20%, you're like, oh my gosh, it's crashing. But it's still like 60% more than it was 3 or 4 years ago. So it's not like it's super affordable all of a sudden. That's sort of a mental game where it's like buying in the stock market. People go, oh, well, it was $130 last month and it's only $120, so I bought a bunch of it. And then people are going, yeah, but 2 years ago I bought the thing for like $4 a share. So and I just rode the up and down. And you're like, oh no, I got a great deal because it dropped and then I bought it. And you're like, okay, whatever.
Right. I mean, look, if home prices from the builders are so low, why isn't everybody going out there and buying these things and being happy with it, right? It's not quite that. If home prices from builders are so affordable, then why is everybody still screaming about affordability? If home prices are so low, then why are adults living with their parents? So, there are other things to consider.
Somebody that watched our channel actually posted in the comments that somebody on our last video yesterday, that somebody had a friend of theirs went to a new home subdivision and got like a 4-point-something% rate, 30-year fix from the builder.
Yeah. Well, because remember, builders can do that because a lot of times they own the mortgage company.
Yeah. Or they have a affiliation with a mortgage company.
Right. So builders have a lot more flexibility than sellers do on the resale market. So that's part of the reason why they're enjoying this revival. But like I said, and I've been saying this for a long time, part of the reason that homes are sitting on the market longer is because they're not meeting the needs of the buyers. Right.
Anyway, so the housing crash you were expecting probably is still not going to happen, especially now that interest rates are starting to, drop pretty dramatically. And I don't know if it's going to keep going, but, the under 6% interest rates, it was something 2 years ago people said we were never going to remember that, Wanda? People come, you're never going to see interest rates under 6% again. They'll be 10, 11% in 2 years. And here we are, they're dropping again. I mean, they're not going to go back to 2.5%. I can't imagine. I would not be shocked to see them, you could get something under 5% next year just for a resale home.
Right. Yeah. That would be great. So, is there anything else?
No, that was it.
Okay. So let us know in the comments, is this signal or is this noise? What do you think? I think it'll be interesting to see what everybody thinks out there. Please remember to like the video, subscribe, hit the notification bell, share the video, leave us any real estate related comments. We welcome them, and we'll see you on the next video. Bye.
Bye.